Going to city council matters, old business, no, new business, no. Individual council matters. I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you about my meeting. I went to the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. I was shocked, to say the least. They gave another presentation on 750, and this clown got up, and here's some of the statements that we withdrew from this, and it's a darn good thing we did. This group is a bunch of radicals. Here's one of the statements. Cities are less important. In other words, they will become less important. The worldview, counties will become less important also. Only mega regions are important. Now he's starting to talk about European trade, et cetera, so only mega regions, in other words, the entire 7 counties would have someone to control them. They are not going to put up with American education system. He's talking about the Europeans. It was about this time when I started getting a little upset, and I had a few words, but I don't know what world this guy is living in. I mean, what rock they turned over to find this guy. Don't be distracted by today's problems. I mean, and here's one, I almost got up and left. Fascism is the best form of government to implement these changes. That's not even funny. That's not funny. This is the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Fascism is a good form of government to implement these changes. Here's a wonderful one. We shouldn't have any more of these meetings. Just pass this thing and be done with it. Bureaucracy is anti-American. I mean, this guy is off somewhere and left. I don't know what he's eating, but I don't want any of it. We will be transcending local contact or local control. Create a utopian community. Now, where have you heard that from back in the 60s? I mean, I was growing up in the 60s, and I was a bit of a hippie myself, but I think I grew out of that a long time ago. You need a very small group of people to make the decisions. In other words, we, the cities, the municipalities, and the counties wouldn't be making the decisions. The group down in Miami, the 750 group, and he said no more than 4 people. Capitalism is ruthless. Well, duh, where'd you grow up? I thought the Gestapo was going to walk into the room. I mean, this guy is an arrogant, pompous ass. Don't ever have anything to do with the 750. We made the right decision. And I'll get off my soapbox now.
Welcome to the Story of Liberty. Today we have a very special program for you. I have 2 very wonderful and important ladies with me today who are doing something for you and your liberty. Everybody in Vero Beach and across the country needs to give these ladies a standing ovation for doing something for us that is very important. Everybody has property, whether it be your property that you live at, your car, your vehicle, your home, your iPad. Everybody has property, and property rights affect all of us. Today, I have with me Rose and Phyllis, who are part of a group called American Coalition for Property Rights. And the purpose of their group is to fight an agenda called 750. And this agenda is basically a way for the federal government to come into our lives and change the way the Constitution allows us to delegate what we do with our property. Phyllis, what exactly is 750?
750 is a non-governmental organization that consists of over 200 unelected bureaucrats in our 7 Florida counties. They are government appointees from outside our area who circumvent the state level, infiltrate local city councils, planning and zoning boards, and the boards of county commissioners. Then they bypass those organizations in order to implement the 750 Community Reengineering Plan. Working under Presidential Executive Order Number 13575, called the Presidential Council on Sustainable Development, 750's been assigned to nationalize human settlements into a one-size-fits-all model and federalize our living spaces. They hope, without our knowledge, without our vote, without our consent, but with our tax dollars.
So basically, what 750 is the federal government overreaching local government.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so constitutionally, basically 750 is illegal.
It contravenes our Constitution.
It does.
It bypasses the state level and
does.
infiltrates our local officials.
How do they go about this? Like, how did you find out about them? How did 750 get the ability to do this? I mean, how can they overcome our planning boards? How can they get in and infiltrate our city councils and our development councils and our different things in our city that make these decisions? How are these people in here? Are they elected? Are they officials? Who are they?
They are appointed by the federal government. They are a non-governmental organization, but they are appointees, unelected bureaucrats. And in order to educate ourselves, we, a very concerned group of citizens in Vero Beach, attended a design charrette presented in October of 2012 at the Indian River County Commission Chamber. They were then called the Southeast Florida Regional Partnership Sustainable Communities HUD Grant Initiatives. They changed their name to 750, meaning control of 7 Florida counties within 50 years. And it was here that we learned about regionalism, sustainable communities, and the end of private property ownership rights.
That last sentence is something that every single citizen in the United States of America needs to be concerned about, because this isn't only happening here in Vero Beach. This is happening all over the country. You ladies did something here in Vero Beach that is amazing. You stopped these guys. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, we were congratulated by Governor Scott at a recent meeting for being the first in the state of Florida to abolish 750 in our city and our county.
Unbelievable. You guys are great. I mean, just really thank you. And I hope everyone needs to thank you guys, because private property, we take it for granted here in the States. We take it for granted. You know, private property, without it, there is no liberty. No liberty. If we can't make a simple decision about where we live and how we live, where is the liberty in that? Healthcare is under attack. The Second Amendment. I mean, every single one of our liberties is under attack. But if we don't have private property, we have no base to stand on to fight those other things. We need to fight this. And something that you guys are, you actually created a plan, is that correct? For other people to be able to fight this in their communities.
Well, we first wanted to educate ourselves. So what we learned at the design charrette, and I quote, their mission was to effect extreme changes in housing and transportation by bringing in millions of passengers by train from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and Orlando to use our parks and beaches. And they further intended to rezone our old downtown area in Vero Beach and build a sustainable community using government grants. Then we had to find out what is a sustainable community.
Right.
And I found out that it's absolutely an opposite end of private property. It is a cluster of low-income, high-density population, housing and urban development, stack and pack high-rises with demographic quotas located next to the high-speed rail service.
So basically, they wanted to bring this into Vero Beach.
That is correct.
And where would have this been located?
In the old downtown area. Mm-hmm. And they start using, they work hand in glove with HUD, DOT, and the EPA. And they use these government grants to rezone your downtown areas and narrow the streets and pedestrianize them. And eventually, the use of automobiles will not be allowed here. Over time, they tax private property owners in the extreme. This is called a tax sharing basis. They tax the suburbs to pay for this inner city until eventually private homes with their individually controlled air conditioners and irrigated lawns are no longer sustainable, and automobiles with their dirty carbon footprints are no longer sustainable under the new EPA regulation. So over time, they phase out private property and your right to own an automobile.
Okay, so just to be clear, they want to get rid of individual homes for like one-family dwellings.
Correct.
Our automobiles.
Correct.
Our lawns.
Correct.
Are these people, are they American? Because those three things are three of the main things that the American citizen cherishes: their lawn, their home, their yard, their single-family dwelling. That is the American dream. And we have a love affair with our automobiles. So how are these people actually getting away with this without the American public screaming in protest?
This has been happening over time. It originated in the United Nations under a document called Agenda 21 for the 21st century, and these turned into executive orders by the president, which are very powerful methods. They really are dictating. They bypass Congress. They are only accountable to the judicial branch and the legislative branch. But when the president appoints the judges and nominates the legislators, and if they are in favor of his ideologies, well, you can see the system of checks and balances is watered down greatly. So this is very powerful. Now, and how can they implement it without our knowing it? They don't want us to know it. If you go to their website, it paints beautiful utopian pictures of these living areas. If you drive into New Jersey or Poughkeepsie or Westchester, you'll see the actual outcome where these dwellings turn into rings of crime and drugs and prostitution.
Okay, so this has been implemented in some cities now already. 750, you were explaining to me at a meeting the other day exactly what 750 stands for. What does that stand for again?
It stands for Control of 7 Counties Within 50 Years, and that started in Indian River County. They moved all the way down the coast, all the way to Key West, and rounding around up toward the West Coast.
Okay, and how long ago was it that you guys had this battle here in Vero Beach?
It began in December is when we scored our victory, but we initially found out about it in October of 2012, and we quickly organized and started educating the public by holding meetings at the public library, making public service announcements, putting letters to the editor. And once people became educated about it, they became enraged. So on December 18th of 2012, we filled the county commission chambers. We made history that day. There was standing room only. We had 20 speakers. And we also, in advance of this, had sat down with our commissioners and our city council members to educate them as well. And they knew nothing of it. And this is how surreptitiously these 750 groups operate. And they changed their names. There's ICLEI, the International Council on Local Environmental Issues. There's Visioning Overlay, Florida Forever. The names that they use sound very attractive. So they tell their city council people that we're going to help your community become more efficient, promote jobs, but it doesn't promote anything except massive government dependence.
Right. And anyone who's listened to the story of Liberty in the past knows that we put such a strong emphasis on local government because our founders did. And actually, it goes back to the Hebrew Republic. They always put the most important strength and power for the people in the local government. In fact, until recently, local government was more important than the federal. The federal is not supposed to have this kind of power to come into a local government and tell us how to live. What you ladies did is so important, and I cannot stress that enough. And I bet you most people listening today had no idea this was happening. The media, I don't think, really covered it. I know you guys got in the paper after you won victory against 750. I just wish that we could get more people involved with this, because you want to know what the big thing is? It affects everybody. If we can't have private property and make a decision on how we want to use that property, I mean, what's the point of America? What is the point of liberty? If you can't make those kind of basic choices, what's next? We need to start waking up and helping people like you guys who are actually willing to go forward and fight these battles for us. We need to support you guys and prop you up. Another thing this is called is regionalism, you were saying?
Yes.
Now, can you explain to our listeners what regionalism is?
Yes, it takes away the local control of the development of your community. And once our locally elected officials are no longer in the picture, then of course we no longer have a say. So the regionalists decide